What is good, Mafia Family? It is your Don Daddy here, and I hope you guys are entertained. If you did watch the update video, you saw in it that I wanted to start doing more discussion type videos, and I had the idea to do a What If Quirks for Real video, and that is what we're going to start off with today. So I hope you guys can sit back, enjoy, and get ready to see what the Mafia can do. So, What If Quirks for Real? I mean, look. I got Goku chilling right here on this shirt. I think a lot of people who have watched anime or watched cartoons or watched any form of entertainment involving superheroes and superpowers has thought about what it could be, you know, like if you were in that world, if you really lived in the realm of Dragon Ball Z or My Hero, Bleach, Magi, Hunter x Hunter, etc. The list goes on forever. If you lived in that world, how would it be? But in these discussion videos, what I want to talk about are what if that world transferred over to our reality? And sometimes I think it might transfer over very smoothly. For example, I think shows like Hunter x Hunter would transfer over pretty smoothly based off of how Nin works. But I think shows like My Hero changes a lot in the grand scheme of things. So in this video, we're going to talk about how My Hero changes reality as we know it in the present. How Quirks change reality as we know it in the present. How it would change our future and how it would change our day-to-day lives. So first, let's get a quick basis of Quirks and how I'm going to be laying out the video so we're all on the same page. So what we do know is that One for All is 100+ years old, right? So let's say that One for All is 120 years old. We don't know his exact age, but we're just gonna say 120 years old. Because when we do see the flashback of him when he is giving his brother a quirk, he looks around his teens to 20s to me. So we're just gonna go based off of 20, but you really can't tell age when it comes to anime faces and bodies because some 15-year-olds look like full-grown adults and full-grown adults look like kids. So, kind of hard to do. But we will say 120 years old, right? And so, we're going to use this basis and say that he came out fairly early in the development of Quirks in the world. So, if you don't know, 80% of people in My Hero have Quirks. So, that's around 6 billion people on Earth who would have a quirk. And we know that the first known quirk appearance is the Luminous Baby. So let's say the Luminous Baby came around 10 years before One for All was born, hitting us back 130 years ago. So 130 1800s. Late 1800s, what? We're in, yeah, about the 1880s, if I'm thinking correctly. So from the 1880s up, what would change? Quick synopsis. I think technology is a giant change in our present reality. Because if you think about how technology has advanced within that same amount of time without any known quirks in real life. Bro, just think about it. 130 years ago, we didn't have cars, but now we have self-driving cars. We have people trying to work on flying cars. We have been to space. We have created the most destructive weapon ever in the nuclear bomb. We didn't even know where everything was 130 years ago. We didn't have any idea what people in Japan were doing 130. When I say this, I don't mean we hadn't contacted them, but I'm saying right now I could call someone in Japan and immediately know what we're doing, where 130 years ago, it would take forever to get any of this information back to us. And this is quirkless, regular old world. So think about with quirks, how that would change in advance technology. As people, we evolve to keep up with our survival, and that would change our survival tremendously. Just like in My Hero, they have support technology. I think that support technology is very advanced because we start using people as weapons. I think that is a key change difference is I don't think nuclear bombs are our biggest threat weapon. I don't think that's what you have a full peace treaty about. Now, I do think that it's still in place, but I think there's a lot more in place in there, because I think with 80% of people having quirks, you're going to use them as an army. And I think there are certain quirks that you have to just say, hey, when we go to war, we can't use fill in the blank quirks, because you have quirks that can destroy everything. Example, you have 13, who, if you have kept up with the anime, shoot, I think it's season 1, that's all you have to really watch. You see that 13 can create many black holes. Like, that's not a broken ability at all, is it? I mean, he can't control what he sucks into it, but it is a black hole. You literally drop that in somewhere, you get 13 out, and it does your job for you. That is a destructive quirk to have. I think you gather lots of those people, and you have to make some sort of deal, some sort of peace treaty to say, hey, we can't use these type of quirks. I also think that the power shift changes. So we have a layout of power semi-similar to what we know in My Hero with quirks. I think Japan is a superpower. For the simple fact of All Might. I think if they still have someone like All Might in Japan, he's a superpower. Because we do know that Japan has the lowest crime rate, and it's because of All Might. Where other places still seem to have a similar, was not really hit upon, so I'm guessing they still have a similar, maybe a lower crime rate than current days, but still a pretty similar crime rate to the reality that we live in. All Might is like, I don't even know how to describe him. He's All Might. He is the almighty one. Like, he in his prime, he's unstoppable, basically. And so I think that is a lot of the international changes that we have, is really dealing with power. I think the power shifts depending upon the quirks that the people in your country, the people you can utilize, has. But I also think that if we look back upon history, there are lots of people in there that we would now say must have had a quirk. Because if you think of people like Einstein, or even Hitler, Stalin, or Martin Luther King, people who moved other people, who are geniuses, who made technology, Steve Jobs, and you think about the people who have made steps forward. They moved people, whether positively or negatively, forward to do things that were unheard of. Things that were unheard of, that were harmful, not only for themselves, but for others, that I think you might look back and say, maybe that was their quirk. Maybe they had a quirk that was able to move people to do what they wanted, depending on certain qualities of that person, or depending on certain ways that they or certain ways that they can transfer their quirk. Maybe they have to hear them directly. Maybe they have to come in physical contact with them. Maybe they just have a supercomputer brain that can analyze and think faster than the normal human. Maybe that's their quirk. Because geniuses are still rarities. People who can just come up with all of these inventions, these are top tier thinkers, and I think that a lot of them we would look at and say maybe it was their quirk. Now, My Hero also shows you don't have to have a quirk to be considered a hero. You don't have to have a quirk to make an impact in society. This is not mandatory within the realm of My Hero. This is just something that falls under the category, and because unless you're one of 5 people, you will have some sort of a quirk. I also think that quirks change a lot relationally, because if we're just talking, sexual attraction and things of that nature, we already have people who look at their horoscopes to figure out who they're best matched with, what they can do for the day. I think if you add the idea of quirks, then it changes, because you'll have people like Endeavor, whether you hate him or you love him, who want to have the best genetics. I mean, for survival purposes, for power purposes, you're going to want to do that. I think that quirk marriages are a thing. I do think that you have people who say, hey, I want all the most powerful quirks. I want all the females, especially in dictator-like countries like North Korea, where they will say, hey, I want to get the best DNA. I want this person and this person to make me an army. I want this person for me. I want that person and that person because I think their quirks would be helpful for our advancement as a country. I think these happen. I also think that with quirks becoming real, we definitely will adopt the quirk counseling that they kind of have in My Hero, where when children are developing their quirks, having a way to help them through the process, especially based off of My Hero and based off of reality. Stereotypes are huge. I think that certain quirks are more or less ideal for doing crimes, for being a villain more than being a hero, and that we would need people there to really help them through this process. I don't think when people first start showing quirks that they're accepted. I think that just like basically any other thing that humans have come in contact with that we don't know, we fear it and we attack it. But when it becomes normal, once the norm is to have a quirk versus not having a quirk, I don't think we attack quirkless people. I think we pity them more than attack them. But you still need counselors there because we will still have people that we stereotype. If you have a quirk that seems good for doing a crime, I think you will be stereotyped as someone who is a criminal, someone who has criminal tendencies, someone who comes from a family of criminals. I think that quirks are the new stereotype. I think that we still have racism and discrimination based off of gender or sexuality, but I think quirk discrimination becomes a thing. And I don't think it becomes a conscious thing either. I don't think it's something that everyone thinks about. I don't think there's a quirk movement per se, but I do think that there are people who, if you have a quirk that makes you look villainous, which you see throughout My Hero, Gangork being one of the main points, I would say, because he's a hero who most likely looks like a villain. I think we stereotype them into being villains, and I think counselors, I'm kind of biased, I'm a psychology major, but I think counselors are very important in the transition period to keep people on the right path. And I think for quirks, that these are people who move throughout their life as much as possible. They are there from the time they develop their quirk at least to the time that they're in high school. In America's way, at least. In other countries, I can't speak upon it nearly as much, but I do think this is how we would attempt to do it in America. And I think it would be a very universal thing to keep them with them throughout it, because as powers grow, as time changes, and as they go through their natural bodily advances, aka puberty, that you're going to need people there to kind of help them along the way. But this video is already around 20 minutes long, without editing or cutting anything out, obviously. So I'm gonna make this the part 1 to the video. In part 2, we'll kind of wrap things up, talk a little about some quirks that I like or would like to have or would like to make or see in My Hero, and I definitely want you guys to talk with me. And if there's any other shows, any other ideas, any other discussions that you would like to have about My Hero or almost any other anime, I'll try to see if I can finish it if I haven't seen it, or at least get some information about it, or if I have seen it, do some research to make sure that I remember it well. But I love you guys. I hope you have been enjoying the content here on the channel. Thank you for the support. And the only question I leave you guys with is, are you not entertained? Peace.